You're all set, thanks.
All right, thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the September 6, 2022 meeting of the Orangetown Plan and Zoning Commission. I am Commissioner Ozzie Parenti.
Tammy Trantalis, Administrative Assistant.
Tom Tarenti. Paul Kaplan.
Kevin Cornell.
Jack Demerjen, Zoning Administrator.
Okay, we're going to be missing Commissioner Smith this evening. She had a prior engagement, so she won't be here. All right, item number 1 on our agenda is a review of the minutes from the August 16, 2022 meeting. Everyone should have those.
Just one comment. Tammy, on page 2, second paragraph, third line, I think it should be SCAPA. Not what I-
Yeah,
SCAPA instead of STAPA.
Scapa, S-C-A-P-A.
SK.
SK.
Oh, I think it is Stoppa.
Is it?
Really? I'm 99% sure. I think it is Stoppa.
Really?
I'll drive by the sign again tomorrow, but.
I had just one comment on page 3. It's the fourth full paragraph. It says Chairman Parenti wants a notation on the map stating that seating would be compliant with parking requirements for outdoor seating. What I was looking for was a notation indicating what the parking requirement was.
Okay.
I mean, they indicated that they were compliant, but they didn't indicate what the standard was.
Well, and that brought us down the rabbit hole, right?
Right, kind of. It was the beginning of the end. That's all I had.
Motion to, you're looking for a motion? I'm ready to
Yes,
move.
Please.
I'll move that we approve the August 16th minutes as amended, maybe.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
It's been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Next item is old business. Anybody have anything they want to bring up under that topic? Jack, how are we doing with signs?
You always steal my thunder, Oz.
Oh, all right.
The one thing I was going to bring up for my report was I have been doing some signage in the last week. A lot of the political ground signs, some banner signs have been showing up, so I have been going up and down the post road
The
cleaning them
reason
up.
why I ask is because over the weekend I saw, that really caught my attention at the convenience center.
In the middle of town?
Yeah.
Okay,
You
yeah.
know
I,
those long signs that,
they did have one banner sign up, and I know
is that what
they
you
are
call banner signs?
Yeah,
Yeah.
banner, flag sign, whatever
Okay.
terminology you want to use. But the issue there is no physical sign. It was, I think, knocked down about a year and a half ago. So they kind of have been trying to take some liberty putting their own signage up. But
Yeah, but those are the worst.
absolutely.
All right.
Yep, and I'll stop there this week as well.
Okay. That's all I had under old business. Anybody else?
What is the status of the?
Continuing care community up on,
Assisted living?
yeah.
Oh, 197.
Yep.
Indian
They're-
River?
Yeah, they're moving pretty quick. They're doing all of their permitting, which is taking a long time because fire and building has to inspect every single unit. So they're in the process of doing that. But it's moving right along.
How many units?
The total, I don't have the total off the top of my head because it was several different wings depending on the level of care that you needed. Right. But I think it was 100. I don't want to give you the wrong number, but I'll get back to you with that.
Are the units already leased or whatever?
I believe they are taking names, but I don't think that anything is official yet. But I would have to. I mean, we get calls about it all the time. So
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be interesting to see the business model they have
Yeah.
to get in there, because I know they range from an equity input of 100 or 200 or 300, whatever the number is, which sometimes you get back if you pay for the services, and the level of services change depending on where you are in the facility. And they use that as operating capital, and the new person who comes in after the other person expires it's interesting to see how different models work. So it'll
Right.
be, it'll be good.
But that's just weeks away, months away?
I would say
Opening?
months away.
Still months
they're-
away.
I would say so, and I could ask for an update from the building official. But all the site work is done and has been done for a while. But just because of the number of units and the use of the building, it's not just a residential building, so there is a lot to go through there. And I know they've been I don't want to say slow with getting their inspections done, but with that many units, they are going to find problems. So, but they are moving right along.
How about Firelight?
Firelight, I'm sure everybody can see they're
It looks like it's moving
they're
along.
hauling. Yeah, they really are moving well over there. We haven't had too many complaints. The only thing we have had, because it's been so dry, is some of the dust complaints. And I have been driving by. They've been a lot better with their dust control over there. But when it's this dry, it's a little tough. So, but not for several weeks, if I heard any.
I'm by there almost every day, though. It hasn't been bad.
Yeah, and they have been very responsive when I did bring it up as a problem. So they do have people out there with water trucks and making sure everything stays on the ground. But
All right.
it's the first rain we've had in months. So
Yeah. Okay. Anything else under old business? How about under new business? Those are pretty much interchangeable to us, right? I mean, we got something new, Kevin?
No, I do not. I always look forward to the zoning enforcement officer's
All right. Well,
report now that we actually get one.
You don't have to wait any longer because
There we go.
Here it is, item number
well,
4.
I hate to do it to you, but most of it was about signage. So that.
So I did read your mind.
Yes, you did, as usual. We have had a couple letters go out just for some blight orders. Between that and signage, I don't have too much to report. So
Okay.
sorry to disappoint, Kevin.
All right.
Get over it.
Next item on the agenda is item 5. We're in the public hearings now. This is going to go off for tonight because the applicant wasn't quite prepared to proceed. They're working on some revisions to their plan. This is on the winery. So we had to get an extension from them of the 35 days within which to close the public hearing. So Jackson has that in hand.
Correct.
So we'll take that up first meeting in October.
And just to be clear, not that it makes a huge difference, tonight would not have been the last one. The 20th, our next meeting, would have been the 35th day of the public hearing being open, so I figured we might as well give ourselves some wiggle room and get that sooner rather than later.
So I don't know what they're working on, but we'll see that on. No, I said October. The 2nd
Yeah,
September.
The 2nd September meeting.
The 20th.
Yeah, the 20th. Right. Okay. All right then. The last item on our agenda is a petition to amend the Orange zoning regulations. This is with respect submitted by Southern Connecticut Wellness and Healing to allow a cannabis establishment in the commercial C1 district by special use permit. Is the applicant here?
If Paul could read in the
Oh,
legal
yeah, let's
notice.
start with that, Paul.
Yeah.
Thank you.
To appear one time on Tuesday, August 23rd, 2022, and one time on Tuesday, August 30th, 2022, the Orange Town Plan Zoning Commission. Notice of public hearing. Notice is hereby given that on Tuesday, September 6, 2022, at 7 p.m. at the Orange Town Hall, 617 Orange Center Road, the Orange Town Plan and Zoning Commission will conduct a public hearing on the following: petition to amend the Orange zoning regulations, Article 1, Section 383-14 and 383-19, and Article 5, Section 383-42, and Article 14, it looks like, Section 383-143, submitted by Southern Connecticut, or Southern CT Wellness and Healing, LLC, to allow cannabis establishments in the commercial C1 district by special use permit. Copy of this notice has been filed with the Orange Town Clerk. Additional information is on file in the Orange Zoning Department dated in Orange, Connecticut, this 22nd day of August, 2022.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening. I'm Attorney Marjorie Shansky, members of the commission. It's nice to see you, but these days it's nice to see anyone.
Yeah.
I'm here representing Southern Connecticut Wellness and Healing LLC and Green Thumb Industries in this petition for a zoning text amendment. With me this evening are Anne Marie Zamba, who is the Director of Municipal Compliance from GTI, Tim Gorman, who's the Vice President, and Jose Navarez, who is Director of Security. Mr. Gorman is also involved in security. And to the extent that the commission is interested in understanding the operational details of what's in the regulation, they are available to you. And also, Mr. Rich DeAndrea, who's a professional engineer, who is the traffic engineer of record for GTI in this matter. I have prepared a letter for the commission. There are multiple copies here. I had forwarded it to Jack earlier. Perhaps you've seen it, perhaps not. There are copies for everyone. And it's simply a letter that goes over the authority of the commission to adopt regulations in the zoning regulations. It also enumerates highlights from the particular text that's in front of the commission. It looks at the consistency with the Plan of Conservation and Development, which is one of the requirements of the commission when entertaining a text amendment, and simply talks about the authority of the commission and the law supporting and describing the power of zoning commissions to adopt regulations. So that's for your information. It's of a general nature, except with respect to the enumeration of the elements of the regulation we're considering this evening. I've also included a little snippet from the zoning map of the town of Orange that illustrates the C1 zoning district, which is the only district that's on the table for the eligibility of an establishment. It essentially is running up and down the Boston Post Road. So there's a certain isolation and surgical strategy associated with that. Almost a year ago, in November 2021, the Commission adopted a moratorium on cannabis establishments, and that moratorium was intended to give you time to review the action of the legislature and perhaps also to evaluate what else was going on in the state of Connecticut. By assembling the team from GTI this evening, in addition to walking through the regulation to the extent that is useful to you, we also are here to describe, and when I say we, I mean them, their experiences in operation, because GTI, or Southern Connecticut Wellness, currently has medical marijuana establishment in Milford, which would move to Orange in the event or would attempt to move to Orange in the event this text were amended, the regulations were amended, and the texts were adopted. So with that, I'd like to introduce you to Ms. Zamba to walk you through her presentation, which I think will be helpful in illuminating what's before you.
Okay, thank you.
And if you have any questions, we're all here.
Good.
These or I can distribute if you'd like.
No, that's okay, we'll pass them around, thank you. Here's another one.
Good evening, esteemed members of the Town of Orange Plan and Zoning Commission. As Marjorie stated, I'm Anne Marie Zamba, Director of Municipal Compliance for Green Thumb Industries. Founded in 2014 with 4,000 team members nationwide, what sets us apart is our people. We're a place where people come first, not only our own, but those that walk within our doors. At Green Thumb, we're on a mission to promote well-being through the power of cannabis. Our family of 6 consumer packaged goods brands distributed in 15 states in our 77 retail locations is the best place to start that journey. Slide 3 shows you that our Green Thumb footprint is large. The last slide references 77 dispensaries spread across 15 states. What does that mean? It means we're experienced. Specifically, we're experienced in transitioning medical markets to adult use markets. Most recently, in April of this year, we transitioned some of our New Jersey dispensaries into hybrid facilities, creating and executing on plans to ensure continued patient access and sufficient product supply to support our existing medicinal customer base. Our team, again, our people, came together from across the country for a methodical adult use rollout, where we partnered with the communities in which we call home to foster the best possible outcomes. The next slide shows our Green Thumb footprint in Connecticut. Though Southern CT Wellness and Healing has been a fixture at our current location in Milford for the past 6 years, Green Thumb branched into the Connecticut market by way of acquisition in 2019. You'll note that the yellow circle represents our existing grow facility, which has been in West Haven since 2013. We also operate Blue Point Westport and Blue Point Branford as medical dispensaries. Slide 5 shows a view of 175 Boston Post Road, our proposed location. You can see a standalone former bank building located in a prime retail area of C1. Our experience with siting new facilities tells us that this location checks all the boxes. With nearly 4,200 square feet, 27 dedicated parking spaces presently, and an existing drive-through, our patients will have increased accessibility, truly making this site a home run. Please note that this location meets the distance separation requirement of providing a 1,000-foot buffer from houses of worship, public, private, and parochial schools. Upon receipt of hopefully a permit reflecting a relocation to this proposed facility and approval of our conversion to a hybrid facility, the license for this location will hang prominently within our secured entrance vestibule. And we would be more than happy to provide Jack, the town planner, a copy as well. I'd like to draw your attention to the photos on this slide, specifically the two in the middle towards the bottom. Though small, they do depict our existing medicinal dispensary interior. Our branding has changed to utilize a lot of green within our spaces, but our customers will continue to be greeted with brightly lit, well-decorated spaces that are warm and inviting. I'd also like to point out that we intend to remodel the interior of the building, though there are no proposed changes to the building facade other than new signage in the two former sign locations. The facility will remain compatible with the surrounding properties. It is an adaptive reuse. You will not find bright flashing lights causing a disturbance, rather an appropriately marked cannabis business adhering to the state of Connecticut advertising guidelines. Our windows will be frosted with an opaque film to prevent product being visible from the exterior of the facility, as is required of our operation. Trash pickup will remain at the back of the building. The next slide depicts our dispensary operations. These smooth operations all hinge on that people first mentality. It's our hope that our 20 dedicated, highly knowledgeable team members will move over to this proposed location with us.
From Milford?
From Milford, yes, sir. Present operations have 13 to 15 team members on daily in varying shifts. Our hours of operation are proposed as Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., Saturdays, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., and Sundays, 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. These hours are consistent with the state liquor statute hours. Peak store hours during the week are seen with a lunchtime rush, and then again at the close of business between 4:30 and 5. Saturdays, peak hours are right at open around 9, and then again roughly at 1 p.m. The peak hours are impacted by individual transaction time. This depends upon if we're working with a new customer or an existing customer. A new customer's transaction time will be slightly longer, averaging 20 to 25 minutes.
What's the size of the Milford operation relative to the orange one you're planning?
Sure, so we have about 3,000 square feet there. We would,
Slightly larger.
the square foot,
Orange is, you said 44,000?
yes, it's 4156.
Yep.
We have about 3,000 square feet in Milford.
Yep.
Working with a new customer will take slightly longer, averaging 20 to 25 minutes, which allows for a pharmacist to provide a consult over the phone or in person and dispense an order. An existing customer typically places a pre-order online. Their order is packaged up before they arrive, and then they're notified via text or email when it's appropriate to arrive to the facility. That transaction of them in store or via curbside pickup takes roughly 5 to 8 minutes. Milford is currently seeing about 215 transactions per day, with 85% of these transactions occurring via online pre-orders and only 15% taking place via walk-in. 85% of customers ordering online is significant. It's this reason that 175 Boston Post Road is so promising. The proposed use of one drive-through lane and curbside dispensing, both approved dispensing methods by the Department of Consumer Protection, we can provide far better service to our patients. Our Milford location is an inline unit of a retail plaza. It is space constrained and doesn't fully accommodate patients presenting with limited modalities. We have found that it's difficult to operate there. By offering drive-through and curbside, we meet our customers as they present to us. The feedback is so overwhelmingly positive from our customers for using both curbside and drive-through dispensing that we've actually altered our real estate strategy in an attempt to find former bank locations. We currently provide drive-through dispensing in Pennsylvania, Maryland, Nevada, and Illinois. We have drive-through dispensing coming online in New York and Florida later this year, and curbside dispensing is offered in all of our markets. To speak to these great dispensary operations and our team, I have a slide of just patient testimonials and reviews. Many of these reviews recognize our folks by name and give kudos to the service they as a patient received. All of these reviews are from our current Milford dispensary, and the theme across them is that our team takes the time to educate. I'm tremendously proud of that. It goes back to the people first mentality that we all embody. The next slide hits on some of the regulatory obligations we fulfill as a business. Safety and security is at the heart of what we do. ID ScanNet software instantly verifies the validity of the government ID presented while simultaneously verifying age, barring those under the age of 21 from entering our facilities. Our operation is also required to have 24/7 camera coverage. Every inch of the facility is under constant surveillance. Our cannabis products are stored securely in a vault in a restricted access area, entry to which is accessible only by dispensary team members with the correct badge and access codes. Additionally, the state requires seed-to-sale tracking, and that all products we sell be tested by third-party state-certified labs before use. Entry to our facility is through a controlled process, where a government ID, again, has to be validated before leaving a public space, which anyone could enter, and entering the limited access area, or what we call a retail sales floor. As noted, our cameras and patient care specialists monitor for suspicious activity, public consumption, and loitering. We have a zero tolerance policy for on-site consumption, consistent with the state of Connecticut regs. We utilize carbon filtration systems to eliminate any odor transfer from product. Odor is rarely, if ever, an issue. We have no live plants located within our facility, and our child-proof, tamper-proof packaging serves to eliminate odor that may be present. Our packaging is labeled with testing information from state-certified labs, safety warnings, and barcodes for traceability and inventory management. You guys stuck with me through a lot there. Thank you. I'd like to hand it over to Tim Gorman, our Vice President of Retail Security and Compliance.
Good evening, members of the commission. Appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. Really just wanted to spend a few minutes talking about the specifics of this site at Boston Post Road. So we, during the process of looking into this site and looking into moving the operation here to Orange, I've had the opportunity to meet with Chief Gagné and ensure that we've shared all of our plans from a physical security and from an operational perspective. So wanted to make sure that I could run through that with you and open myself to any questions you may have. So you'll see on the next slide, there's a blueprint of the facility that really is just going to outline the intense amount of security controls that are built into our facilities. So in this 4,100 square foot space, we'll have well over 50 cameras, both inside and outside, capturing every inch of the interior and an exterior. During conversations with the chief, we also offered to put a few incremental cameras on the outside to help capture the roadway. I know the U-Haul business across the road has done that. It's been helpful in solving some non-associated crimes, and with our technology, we feel like we can offer that to the department and the community as well. We're going to utilize a lot of the infrastructure in the space. So as noted, this was previously a bank, so the bank vault is still in place. We're going to utilize that bank vault to hold products. So, reinforced walls with a lot of technology, ensuring that there's no access to product. Our product does remain out of sight from anyone even shopping in this space. So basically you're ordering on an iPad, and then that order is fulfilled from the back. So a lot of other controls around cash. So cash counting in this space is going to be in a designated room. And once again, I think this far exceeds any retail environment. This is more like bank security, obviously, is what we're starting with, and then layering the most modern day operational technologies on top of it. We created a very focused plan that was submitted to the state. It was also shared with the chief and his top command staff. So he had his command staff with us for an on-site visit in July, where we went through each of the components of that plan to make sure that it, in most every case, exceeded any expectation from the local department. So,
Could you tell me, did the chief, did he review subsection H in the proposed regs? That deals with the security plan?
yes, he did. Yes,
He reviewed that?
he reviewed that. Yes. So we submitted that plan to him. It's about a 20-page document that was drafted by my team. It includes a lot of the operational controls and the processes that dictate how we operate. So that was shared with the chief and the command staff. And we reviewed that and talked about it on when we were on site.
Okay.
So I think one last comment, and then I'll open up to any questions you have. Prior to working for Green Thumb Industries, I spent 20 plus years in retail pharmacy. So I did the same role for one of the largest retail pharmacies in the country. And in my 14 months of experience in this business, the controls, the technology, the investment far exceeds, and I think creates a much safer shopping experience than you're going to find at a Walgreens or a CVS or similar business in your community. So, any questions I can answer from a security perspective?
Does the product remain in the vault until customer fulfillment and stay there overnight?
Yes. So all product is secured in the vault overnight, and then throughout the day, as orders come in, there's a fulfillment process. And then, as mentioned, most of the orders, 85% on average, that's not just the local store, but across our enterprise, we're seeing that. People are ordering ahead, and they have set pickup times, so we can have that order ready on time for a quick transaction when they do arrive.
And would you know if the products that are sold in Connecticut are grown in Connecticut, so you don't have to transport them across state lines?
Yeah, it's illegal to do so. So,
Okay.
so all of the product is grown here and sold here.
And does part of the security plan cover that transaction like you would a bank has a certain protocol to receiving cash on site?
Yeah, absolutely. So receiving product, receiving cash. We use technology. We have a secured receiving space that's on the blueprint. And basically, you can't open one door without the other one being closed. So we create a secure environment, just bringing merchandise in into the facility.
What was your first name? I'm sorry.
Tim.
Tim, you mentioned, and I think the other representative mentioned also, you're seeing 85% of your orders coming in from electronic means, iPads and so forth.
Correct.
Are most of those being picked up through the drive-through? Or is that not, most of the locations don't have drive-throughs?
Yeah, so drive-through is relatively
New.
new. Yeah, so the majority are curbside pickup today, so, similar to, I think Target's done really well during COVID, where you order online, you pull up and someone brings it to your car. So that's been the majority of our model, but due to that, more states are allowing drive-through and different formats of that. And so that's definitely moving, and that's where the bank, basically the infrastructure of the bank drive-through is really beneficial to putting our locations in those spaces.
Tim, I could be mistaken, but I thought I read in the traffic study that they intended to do away with the drive-throughs.
So there's a 3-lane drive-through. We're just going to use a single lane, but not the subsequent ones.
Okay.
Great. Thank you for
All right.
the opportunity.
Thanks.
Good evening. My name is Rich D'Andrea from Colliers Engineering and Design. We were the traffic consultant for the applicant here. We had prepared a letter report dated July 14th that I believe was submitted to your commission. And I'm just going to hit just a couple of the highlights from that report, and then I can answer any questions you might have. Generally, we focused on the traffic generation and the parking that would come from this facility, and to do a comparison of what the former bank or a reuse of that site as a bank would generate compared to this new facility or this new use. And we're talking about the comparison of two basically commercial uses. And to do that comparison, unfortunately, I don't have any historical data of what the bank actually generated. But to do that comparison, we looked at the Institute of Transportation Engineers, which provides what's considered industry standard data for traffic generation for similar type facilities. They do surveys of similar facilities of banks and cannabis dispensary type uses as well, and all other various uses. So what we did was, based on the actual square footage of the facility, that 4,156 square feet, we looked at the AM peak hour, PM peak hour, and Saturday peak hour generation. Your AM and PM peak hour generally being being your commuter peak hours, Saturday being midday time periods. And we look at the dispensary versus the bank, you're looking at very similar traffic generation. So in the AM peak hour, we identified 44 total trips for the dispensary, 41 total trips for the bank. So very similar there. In the PM peak hour, 79 total trips for the dispensary, 87 total trips for the bank. So the bank would actually be somewhat of a higher generator, but still very similar. And on a Saturday peak hour, 120 total trips for the dispensary, 110 total trips for the bank. So again, very similar generation. Basically, when you look at that, we make the conclusion that the dispensary is not going to have a significant impact to traffic in the area that more than what a bank in that location would. Okay, so that was the general conclusion of our study on the traffic end of things. We did note some other things about the modal, the arrival and departure of trips to and from the site. We believe it generally be a 50-50 split along Boston Post Road. There is bus service in the area. It's served by the New Haven metro area Route 261 bus. We think, that may be of some use to the facility. I don't see a significant number of people coming to it by bus. So those are just some of the other things we noted. Then we looked at the parking. Similar to what I talked about with the trip generation, we looked at the Institute of Transportation Engineers again on what's required, what a dispensary parking demand would be at peak times. The Institute of Transportation Engineers identifies that 30 parking spaces are required during peak operation. We're providing 35 total spaces here, so we think we're going to meet the needs of the parking. And if there was a situation where there was some parking overflow or a peak time, they have the ability with the online orders to kind of spread out the pickup times that could spread out the parking. The other thing that parking number doesn't really account for, as we've said, is the drive-through is a fairly new thing for these uses, so really not captured in the ITE numbers at the moment. But that drive-through theoretically would bring down the total parking required for the facility. And then just a couple other things that we touched on in our study were deliveries based on just the information provided by GTI. 8 to 12 deliveries per week are typical. Trash pickup is typically about 3 times per week.
Are they doing any home deliveries at all?
Say that again?
Are they doing any home deliveries?
I don't believe that's part of, is that, oh, yeah, okay.
We do
Oh, sorry.
deliveries 1 day a week.
One day.
Within a 10-mile radius.
You need to be.
I can, yeah, so one home delivery is 1 day a week within 10-mile radius is the answer to that. And I think that was more or less the high points of what we had in our study. And if we get to a point of going for a further permit for this, we would potentially provide some further information as required.
What intersections did you look at, or what were the focus of?
So we didn't specifically analyze any intersections as of this point. We really just kind of focused on what's the traffic generation for the facility, and how does that compare to what the bank would have former bank would have generated, or another bank in that space would generate.
I mean, it seems to me like one difference between the bank and the use proposed. I don't see the traffic coming from the highway, for example, to the bank in as great a number as I see people getting off the highway to get to the use contemplated.
Yeah, I understand that point, but I think that specific of an analysis would be something that we would look at as part of an actual permit for this. So
that's fine.
Yeah.
And by the time the traffic from highway customers gets to the post road, it's basically going to fall into the background traffic that's existing on Route 1.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've just, do we expect more traffic on Marsh Hill Road? Would it be reasonable to expect more traffic on Marsh Hill Road because of the use? I don't know, and I know it's premature to be talking about it at this point.
Yeah, I think that, like I said, if we get to a point of that we're looking for a site plan approval, or that we could provide that type of analysis for you.
I should point out for those who aren't as familiar with that site, it happens to be near my house, and the traffic generation from TD Bank
Minimal.
seemed to be almost negligent.
Nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that, and it's different
should say
banks
minuscule.
generate different rates and different times of the day, and I mean, but I'm basing my numbers off of what are considered to be industry standard based on numerous.
You make a good point, though. I mean,
No.
it may not be a fair comparison, the bank to the marijuana.
I was just struck by the numbers in that traffic report. I didn't anticipate anything close to that magnitude of activity.
But you'd see that level of activity if Bank of America relocated to the TD branch site, probably.
Well, I was actually thinking of Bank of America
Okay,
and comparing TD Bank to it.
right. They never generated the numbers.
People are going to the
That's why it's
bank
an
are
empty-
older. No young people go to the bank.
Yeah.
When you say to your millennial, "I'm going to the bank," they never go.
I don't go to the bank because my wife keeps changing banks.
And you don't know which one to go to.
I don't know which one to go to. All right, is there any other questions? Okay, thank you. Margie, while we're on traffic, just one question. Would your client be prepared to amend the proposed regulations to allow the commission to get its own traffic consultant? Engage our own traffic consultant at the expense of the applicant? And I ask only because I don't know the last time, if ever, I've seen a traffic study where things aren't affected by the proposed new development.
Mr. Chairman, I believe that, and maybe I have forgotten, but to the extent that's already in your regulations, that for an application, you have the ability to engage outside experts at the expense of the applicant, I'm not sure that you need to put it in this specific section of the regulations. It's already accounted for in the Orange zoning regulations. But the point is well taken, but I think you always have that latitude. And I want to remind you that this is, in your regulation, this is a special permit use. So the discretion that attaches to special permits attaches to this permit as well.
Okay.
But I appreciated the question that the chair asked, because even though it in a way is premature, because we're here on the text amendment, it certainly will inform the way in which a traffic study would be prepared in the event you adopt the regulation and an application is filed. So that was very helpful.
Good enough.
Thank you. I also wanted to say that if you have not, and I can't imagine why anybody voluntarily would, because it's so long, so granular, and so dense, examined the state statute that legalized this concept. It is the case that your regulation, or the draft regulation that's before you, incorporates and must be in conformity with the state law. It's my understanding, and since counsel is sitting right there, he can shake his head if it's true, it's my understanding from my client that the underlying skeleton, more than the skeleton, the meat on the bones, was prepared by town council, and that my client then refined it in a way that would anticipate that if the commission were to adopt a regulation, that it would be so narrowly prepared that you could avoid imagining a proliferation of uses in the town of Orange. And if you were to apply the various distance ratios that are provided for in this regulation, as we have, you would essentially find that you will have one. And so that gives you the advantage, if that were a word you elected to use, of participating in this program that the state has legalized without fear that there would be too much of it. The other thing I wanted...
That is my understanding, by the way, that town council prepared these regulations, essentially.
Correct. The, all of the protocols that Anne Marie described are products of state law. So that is a demonstration of how the operation of an existing facility functions in compliance with state law. And all of those protocols are reflected in this regulation. So there's tremendous resonance between what the law both provides and requires and what this regulation contains. That's what I wanted to remind you. And if there are some things, and that was prompted by the chair's question about security, the applicant must prepare a security plan. And there are specific prohibitions in the law that describe how securely the product must be received. And by the way, the product is traced from seed to sale. So there's a chain of custody that is so protective and so secure as to really assuage concerns that you might have about random activity. It's very controlled and is operating successfully.
Would I be correct in saying that the plan cannot go forward without the chief of police's sign off?
We do want an affirmative, we have sought.
So absent that,
Well.
oh, you already have it.
Well, Mr. Gorman spoke with the chief. I mean, I understand historically from the time that you adopted the moratorium that he expressed himself candidly with the commission at how pleased he was with the moratorium. But we have provided, as Mr. Gorman said, the chief with the security plan. He has been to the facility, and we are working with him to elicit some form of approval or
I understand.
acquiescence.
All I'm saying is, without his go-ahead, the regulations would.
Mr. Chairman, I have spoken to the chief, and not speaking for him, but I have spoken with him. And while I believe he still feels the way he feels personally, he does recognize his role administratively and recognizes the change of the law within the state.
Okay.
And recognizes what he likely will have to do administratively as his function within the town.
Yeah, no, I'm not really asking whether he'll
Mr.
do it or
Chairman?
not. I'm just asking, is it necessary that he go along with it?
Mr. Chairman,
So, is it necessary for this?
Under the
stage?
way the regulations are written, is it necessary that he go along with it for the project to move forward?
Or is it advised?
under
Or is
the
it- yeah.
under the regulation at section 383, 143.7H,
Yep.
within the security paragraph, it says, I quote, "A letter from the police chief acknowledging receipt and approval of such a security plan shall be submitted as part of the application and/or site plan review." And that refers to the special permit
Right.
application or site plan review.
At this stage.
Right, but it's required,
Yes.
It's a
it is.
requirement for the ultimate approval process.
Yeah, I understand that. But that's all I was trying to
Yeah.
understand, you know.
That's what that section says. But his approval is not required for your adoption of the
No,
regulation.
no, I understand that. I just,
Unless you think of striking.
listen, what?
Unless you think, you can strike that now if you want. You take a lot of pressure off the chief.
No. Again, I read the regulation the way you do.
Mhm.
And I just wanted to make sure that that was the case.
It is the case.
Okay. Any other questions? Or, I'm sorry, were you,
No, that was what I wanted to share with you.
okay.
And to also, with the members of the team, respond to any other questions that you had about the special use criteria or any other thing.
Attorney Shansky, this might be better answered by Ms. Zamba, but the state seems to be having some procedural difficulties in awarding licenses.
On the social equity side,
Okay,
because this is an existing, and Ms. Samba can correct me if I'm wrong, but because this is an existing medical dispensary company, they are not subject to the social equity rule.
so the permit they have currently to operate in Milford would be transferred to Orange?
It would be transferred to Orange, and then at the point at which the recreational trigger was released by the state, they would apply for the hybrid license.
Correct.
Okay, so we'd be looking at a two-step process. They would, if there was a cannabis regulation in the town of Orange, and the town of Orange is allowed to have one dispensary, if our understanding from previous discussions is correct, then their license would be transferred to Orange, and they could move forward with a site plan procedure outside of any additional state involvement?
Except for the recreational
Special use
permit.
permit.
But I'm going to allow Ms. Zamba to come
Thank you.
forward because she is superior.
I think that would be constrained by the medical license that it has now, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
So at present, if this text amendment were to be adopted, we would seek a formal relocation of our Milford dispensary to Orange. Given that we're a medicinal dispensary currently, we are subject to a 10-mile radius relocation requirement. So we had to find a site within that 10 miles. The purpose being so that our patients aren't unduly burdened in needing to obtain medicine. From there, once that was approved, we would seek to convert to a hybrid facility. Attorney Shansky was absolutely correct. We are not subject to the lottery process. At present, we are considered a dispensary facility. We are one of 18 in the state. They will not be issuing additional dispensary facility licenses, meaning no more medical dispensaries. So we would convert upon application and payment of a fee to be a hybrid facility. Our pharmacists would stay on staff. We would continue to have patients. Pharmacists can be used for adult use consumers. Yeah.
Okay, I was trying to get an understanding of the level of certainty of your process.
Sure. We feel very confident. That's why we stand before you this evening, that we would be, the state is amenable to our relocation. They have already approved the drive-through dispensing for us as well.
Okay.
I'm getting ahead of myself.
Okay.
As long as I got you here, you had opened the door to say that there's going to be home delivery on a limited basis.
Mhm.
How do you control, let me say the flip side, for the other people who are either picking up curbside or drive-through, you know who you're giving it to?
Mhm.
How do you confirm who you're giving it to when it's home delivery?
Sure. So that person would still have to, at present, they present their ID as well as their Connecticut Medical Marijuana Program card. They
Home
have-
delivery is not by then FedEx or UPS, it would be by your own employee?
That's correct,
I understand.
yes.
Okay.
Hand delivered.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Marjorie, are you all set with your presentation, or?
Thank you, yes.
Okay. Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to speak on the issue? Mitch? Selectman Goldblatt, I should say.
Not speaking as a selectman this evening. Thank you, Ozzy, or Chairman Parenti. Mitch Goldblatt, 291 Drummond Road in Orange. I think most of my questions have been answered this evening by the applicant. Seems that this would allow for the potential for a dispensary in C1 zone, but by special permit. So therefore, it's not going to just open things up. It will give you still a lot of control. It also seems that the controls that they have put into place for their dispensary are, to me at least, sound like they are more so than what you would find for a normal pharmacy. We have several pharmacies in town. They dispense opioids. They dispense other medications and drugs that we know help people, but also have the potential for a very dangerous situation. I think they've put everything into place that would give us the confidence that it would be run professionally and safely. And I think that because this is not we're not the first ones, I would urge, and with the permission of the applicant, members of the commission to be able to check out what happens in Milford. I mean, I didn't even know this existed in Milford. And I think that if they've run a successful facility in Milford for several years without, at least that I know of, maybe you know of, any incidents, the checks and balances that they're planning on putting into their security plan in Orange sound like they more than will be as secure as can possibly be. So I would certainly support this. I think it'd be a plus for the town of Orange to have this. I think it would be plus because there are people that do, at least at this point, what they'll be approved for would be medical marijuana. There are a lot of people who are housed in Orange and also will be housed in Orange with some of the newer developments that may possibly require this, and to have it closer than somewhere else is a benefit to our citizens. And finally, I know you've been comparing this to a bank. Don't forget, there used to be a restaurant here, which had significant amount of traffic, more so than I think the bank concerns, and that survived, at least as a restaurant for some time before. Maxwell's? Am I not mistaken?
Yeah,
Oh,
God.
yeah.
Maxwell's?
Very good.
Cute.
So, I mean, and there was, at different times of the day, significant traffic. Obviously during dinner time, more so, and during weekends. But I mean, so that site, it didn't have a drive-through at the time, so that certainly took away some of the parking. So I think that there's some things there that say that this site is a perfect site for this. It also takes a piece of property that has been vacant for some time, as most of us know, and putting it back on the tax rolls it also, quite frankly, when we think of a dispensary or anything else to do with this type, a lot of us in our mind, myself included, thought that this would be the type of thing, if it were approved in Orange, would probably end up in one of our strip malls. You know, where it'd be next to another facility that might not be as comparable or comparable as, I'm looking for the right word here. Compatible, thank you. Compatible with what's next door. So therefore, if it was a certain, I don't know, children's facility or a toy store or something else, people might feel that it's not the right thing. This is going to be a standalone building. So I honestly can't think of a better opportunity for the town to have this type of establishment in our town. And like I said before, without prolonging this, I support the application. Thank you.
Thank you, Mitch. Thanks. Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to speak to the application? Okay. All right. I for one would like to keep this open for a meeting and give Judy a chance to comment. And I'd like to give it one final read, careful read myself, but.
Are there any other town officials that need to, I mean, for this particular application, that need to chime in?
No.
How about fire?
For a text amendment, no. Where we are now, it's just
Yeah, none
for
of
the
this-
zoning commission's review. Once, if they were to get a favorable outcome, then subject to every other department head's review.
But it's already been submitted to the police department, obviously.
Right, and all the departments are very well aware of
Yeah.
what's going on, yes.
And this, there were some state statutes that we chose to opt out of that also required town council action. Does the cannabis,
No.
okay, so it's just a zoning matter? A planning and zoning. Correct.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Administratively, do we have to do anything if we do approve this? Because we have a moratorium, do we have the authority, I assume, to lift the moratorium, or what do we?
Correct. This is what
Yeah.
you'd be doing.
Mhm.
Bring it as a matter of.
Yeah, I mean, the moratorium is actually is part of our regulations. So we would repeal the moratorium. It's all in here.
You apply the magic eraser to the language.
Right.
If I may, Mr.
Yes.
Chair, your moratorium says that it's effective until November 22nd, 2020, or no, some date, or until the effective date of a regulation.
Yeah.
So it's self-extinguishing.
But the proposed regulation, part of it is to delete the moratorium.
Yeah.
The section of the moratorium. All right, does everybody agree that we ought to hold this over until our next meeting, or? Or the other choice would be to decide it tonight, but
Well, it's also fair to the applicant because you're going to need 3 votes minimum anyway. So 3 out of 5 is easier than 3 out of 4 generally.
Yeah. All right, so why don't we do that? Let's agree to hold it over to the next meeting, keep the public hearing open at this point. Nothing else? All right, if that's the case, we've concluded our agenda.
Move to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. Second?
Second.
It's been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. 8 o'clock. Thank you, everybody.